Hi, I'm Vera and I live the sustainable tiny life in my silver bullet tiny house, which I designed and built 10 years ago.
This video is sponsored by Bioptimizers. Go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/florp to get a 10% discount using code FLORP10 at checkout. And remember to subscribe.
After experiencing several chronic illnesses, including 3 bouts of cancer, 2 of Lyme disease, I went through all of my savings and assets, sold my house, decided I was going to build a tiny house. I couldn't be near materials that would get moldy, that would off-gas. Looking for affordable housing that doesn't do that, that also doesn't have a violent impact on the environment is difficult. My daughter gave me a New York Times article with Derek Diedrichson in it, and I signed up for one of his first workshops back in 2012. That inspired me to build it on my own, even though I had no experience. So I took all that research into thermal bridging, into advanced framing, into non-toxic building materials, called all the manufacturers, made sure they were treating their employees sustainably, and that they also had at least 10 and 60% recycled processes or materials in their product, and I went ahead and built it. It took me 2 years. This particular tiny house cost $20,000 to build. $6,000 of that alone is for solar, and another $5,000 for the 18-foot trailer. A lot of the things in this tiny house have been donated, or in some cases gotten from the side of the road. Moved in, and I'm such a happy camper. I've never quite been the same since. The Silver Bullet tiny house is 18 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, 13.5 feet tall, so it could be driven around the country. It is made of non-toxic materials. About 75% of it is recycled materials, recycled blue jeans as part of my insulation. I used EcoFoil, which also allows the insulation to breathe and helps with thermal bridging. I used a German product, Zip Panel, which is made from recycled wood. And I also used a Fabral steel roof so that I could water harvest from it. This is wintertime, and this isn't my particular water harvesting container. Mine is much larger, about 75 gallons, and it has a place for plants in it. But basically, this little Odie thing that you can cut your pipes with comes down here with a little plastic pipe, and it fills this barrel. And then you have different places that you can allow the water to come out of. My particular one is in storage because it's that time of year. You want to make sure you take your water basins in so they don't freeze and crack. The skirting I've used for my tiny house throughout its 10 years is basically 2-inch foam insulation upon which the top side has the color of the paint of my tiny house. The reason I've chosen that as skirting is because obviously it's going to insulate my floor. I'm not done yet because I want to make sure there are no animals under there. The reason it's in so many tiny pieces is because it used to be in long panels. But as you know, I'm a sustainable recycler. So I had to cut it up into shorter panels to make it fit. Here are the innards of my solar system. This is a 2,000 watt pure sine watt inverter, and you have the controllers. You can see at any time whether it's floating or it's absorbing. This system is capable of 750 amp hours. Of course, you never want to drain your batteries down below 60%, but that means I have plenty of time before the sun comes out next time. The 3 large batteries I have here are lead acid batteries. They also feed power into these 2 smaller deep cycle batteries because I have a lot of appliances and receptacles, and my lights are 12 volt inside my tiny house. This is the cord that goes from the solar panels up into the inverter. This is where it comes from the solar panels and connects up to my tiny house here. It's a regular 30 amp. I chose 30 amp because the whole idea is to reduce my electricity usage, not be the typical 50 amp or higher. The Silver Bullet tiny house is powered by Renergie solar panels. The whole system is a Renergie system. Each of these are 250 watts. These are the old solar panel mounts, which have lasted 10 years, but they've sat in floods and are falling apart. So these are the new mounts, which are metal. The angle is dependent, of course, on where you are in the country, how the sun is traveling, which way you position them, and which month of the year it is. This happens to be working right now for me to get the maximum voltage. I used PVC to hide the solar panel cords because we have so many animals here and I didn't want them eating or biting into anything electrical. This is my addition, about 6 by 6 feet. This whole roof here is on a piano hinge and used to be down here and fixed into my deck. So when I traveled and toured, I would store things in here. But in this case, I'm gonna leave this here because I've done so many iterations of this greenhouse that you can see there are holes in the Tuftex and, you know, so it's leftover boards, that kind of stuff. Come on in the Silver Bullet tiny house. I have a lot of art in my tiny house. I have a lot of things that I've made personally in my tiny house. All kinds of shades for the windows, masks for the pandemic. Here in my closet, for example, if I wanted to pick something to wear, I have that pull out. I can lay it out there like that and extend my closet. Over here, I have a special case that's locked for jewelry, you know, cameras, that kind of thing, if I'm going out of town. This is just a typical bookshelf. Over here is the Lagoon table that moves. It moves everywhere. So it's great for crafts and Zoom meetings and stuff like that. I have a second location for this too, so that I can put it elsewhere in the tiny house. In front of the Lagoon is actually my bed, and this is a temporary transitional bed. When I fell from one of my lofts upstairs and cracked my entire pelvis, we had to move the bed down here from the loft. But it's great because there's plenty of storage. As you can see, all my wonderful hand knit socks, great for all kinds of clothing. And also, because I gave my TV to my daughter, this window shade is very easy to pull down, and here in this little box is my projector. These two Envy heaters, one is here and another in the bathroom, manage this tiny 18-foot, 150 square feet. And you can see up here, there's an actual former stove thimble. I tried a large stove, then a smaller stove, but I only needed a 2.5 to 3 hour burn. So this just works right off the solar. And next to it is my infamous 110-year-old Singer sewing machine. Sewn 2 wedding dresses for myself, all the curtains and things for the tiny house, masks during the pandemic, and of course I also sew all kinds of toys for kids. This table right here folds down. It has 2 different legs for stability. And of course the Lagoon has the same thing, 2 different positions and easy to store. So that opens up my workspace. I have 2 lofts, and there's not much up here to mention. I mean, it's got all my crafts, special knitting yarns, all my sewing stuff. And then you've got the extra bedroom up here with some of my Buddhist artwork. Every square inch of space is important in a tiny house. That's why here you can see, instead of insulation, I used my own property as insulation, whether it's a hat or a Kleenex box or a piece of artwork. Here, the same, but of course when you are on the road, you need something to keep these objects in. So I added a plexiglass sheet so that when they were jumping around on the road, they would stay in the shelf that they were put in. Now, as you come into the kitchen, you'll notice that I have a very large LK sink. There's an entire basin, a second one here. I bought it for $5, and you know, it's like a $250 sink. It's one of the best deep sinks around. And it is slightly damaged. There are a few dents, but you know, so am I. All of these drawers are former wine crates. Of course, I drank all the wine, but instead of throwing them away, I made them into drawers to hold things, right? And over here, this was like a $3 purchase, this shelf, and it just holds my coffee cups and stuff. That one I built very easily. I just have a hot plate and a little convection stove. That's all I need. All my spices are stored by magnets to the ceiling on stainless steel up there. Now you can come into my bathroom. In here I have a 32-inch square shower tub, which works great for me. But sometimes in the winter, I use it as a closet for quick jackets and stuff. Over here to the right is my infamous urine diverting homemade compost toilet. Yes, it's the only bling in my tiny house. It's a 14-karat gold leafed urine diverting compost toilet. It's been through several iterations. Once that fiberglass special resin coating is gone after years of use, I've done everything from small fish paintings on there to Venus on the half shell, you know. So I didn't want to put it into, that's right, a landfill. So now it's got all the bling it needs. Oh, each of my bathroom and kitchen all end up in one drain that goes down to the shower. From there, it goes straight out in a 3-inch pipe to a French drain I built. And what it's made up of is a series of different levels and sizes of gravel. Now, that particular size of French drain I did so it could handle the waste of 2 people. But of course, you'd have to make a much larger one and get a permit for that kind of French drain if you had, say, a family of 4. Life is a gas. It's a joy. Try to keep that filter on as often as you can. You know, the spark of living is so important. And you run into all kinds of frustrations, challenges, but when I think of how many I've overcome just to be here, to be able to be this age and wake up in the morning, I just, you know, I'm just such a happy camper. And how you can be one too is to realize that all those things that you run into, even some of the most devastating things, you will get through them, you will find a way. And there's always another solution. I learned this long ago. Whatever you think you can't get or have or achieve, in most cases, it's obtainable. You just have to get and think. The great virtue of tiny houses is that if you think about them carefully and design them properly, they can be changed later. That's why I chose not to have a zillion build-ins. You need to think about what you're using your tiny house for. Is it work? Is it just shelter at the end of the night because you're a builder? What is it? Are you a sports person? You know, where do you need to keep your equipment? So you need to be very careful about deciding. And is there something going to change? If you're going to have children, you have to think about all these other options. And so the challenge for me was to decide, how am I going to spend my retirement? What am I going to be doing? Is it going to be crafting? Am I going to be running around the country? But you know, all these things are important. That's the biggest challenge.
What is the #1 mineral that beats stress, fatigue, and helps you get better sleep? It's magnesium, but not just any magnesium. This is Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, and it combines the 7 essential forms of magnesium to help you sleep better, stress less, and just generally experience more peace throughout your day. Now, most magnesium supplements fail because they use synthetics or preservatives, but when you get all 7 critical forms of magnesium, you get a serious upgrade from your brain to your body. Your sleep gets better, muscle tension goes down, and so does pain and inflammation. With this one simple action, you can reverse magnesium deficiency in all of its forms and start feeling the benefits quickly. So click the link in the description below and go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/Florb to get a 10% discount using code FLORB10 at checkout on Magnesium Breakthrough. I recommend you check it out. When I take it, I notice a difference in my sleep. I'm almost done with this bottle here. So click the link in the description or the pinned comment and go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/Florb and use code FLORB10 for a 10% discount. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.